Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of They Say. My name is Allison McFarland, founder and CEO of McFarland Inc., also known as AMI. And today we have another dynamic, powerful, phenomenal guest. I am so honored to have her in the building with me. But first, I do want to let you know that They Say is a nonpartisan podcast, and we are just here to meet great people who have amazing stories who are making real impact. Everyone, welcome Amanda Edwards.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Thank you.
And congrats on your podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And thank you for saying yes, because you are hard to get to. So I am grateful. I had to chase you down in the street.
She didn't have to chase me in the street, y'all.
I was chasing her in the street
Not
during
in
the
the
parade.
street.
I was like, Amanda, be on my show, girl. Be on my show.
And I'm here now.
Thank you, Jesus. And thank you to your amazing PR team. They did an amazing job getting you here, so I'm honored to have you. But just tell us who you are for those who do not know.
You know, I'm someone who absolutely loves, I was born, raised, and grew up in Houston, grew up in the community, and I love it. And so I've had really great opportunities to get involved, to serve, just to be engaged. I've lived in other places, but I came back home. It's where my roots are, and really got involved in a lot of different ways here. So I have just been really fortunate to have really unique, challenging, fascinating ways that I've gotten a chance to get involved in our community. So that's who I am.
I love it. Yeah. Now, this is going to be fun because I'm excited because we get to see a different side.
Yeah, that's what you told me.
But we thank you for staying ready.
Welcome.
What we really want to know is, who is Amanda Edwards?
Yeah.
Who are you? What keeps you up at night besides politics?
Yeah.
Do you ever see yourself having a family one day? What makes you smile? Yeah. That's what we want to know. Who is Amanda?
Yeah, you know, and I'm somebody, I've always been, I think, really interested in helping people. Yes. And that's just been kind of in my DNA. Somebody asked me once, do you ever remember not serving, not doing those things? And I was like, no. We had service projects when I was growing up. I mean, it was just what was going on. And I think my roots in the community, my uncles used to own an old shoe shop on Lyons Avenue in Fifth Ward. Okay. My mom used to work at St. Elizabeth Hospital, which is a charity hospital in Fifth Ward, until it closed. And so I went to St. Monica, which is a Black Catholic church in Acres Homes. Wow. And so we were always doing something in the community, doing that kind of stuff. So I always it was just around me a lot. And so that was just kind of how I was brought up. And then, of course, always was balanced. So as I was doing the service stuff, I also, had my little to-do list. I think I have always been that person who had a packed schedule from a young age, but it was doing the things that I wanted to do. At that time, of course, what's important to you, making sure you had your education, but I was involved in student leadership when I was in high school. So I was
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Eisenhower. So I'm a Mighty Eagle.
Okay, Mighty Eagle.
I got a chance to be class president when I was in high school. I was involved in student council, but I was also an athlete. And so I played basketball and volleyball when I was in high school. So it was fun, balance it, and you can do all of the things. So I've always kind of been someone who liked to juggle a lot of things. I think the kind of serious side of me came out of when I was growing up. Also, I had some serious things going on in my life. My dad got sick when I was 10 years old with something called multiple myeloma. And that, for those that are not familiar with that, that's a very aggressive form of cancer. Okay. And it took his life when I was a teenager. Oh, wow. But when I was witnessing that as I was growing up and learning what healthcare insurance was, it was very eye-opening for me to ask my dad questions like, well, what happens if they say no to the life-saving treatments that he needed? And he would just say, well, we would just have to figure something else out. So at the same time as me doing all these fun things, I had this really serious component of my life happening with my father's illness and then death that really opened my eyes and kind of created a sense of purpose behind me that's probably not normal for a kid to be driven by. But in my case, seeing all that, I thought it was a terrible answer then, and it's a terrible answer now, which is we would have to just figure something else out. Why don't we have systems that work and help people? Why don't we, so going back to just the fundamentals, like how things ought to be, I kind of started to really cue into that early because of what was happening with my father. And so now I'm deeply motivated, and me, hard charging, very passionate, very intense about making sure we do right by people and deliver and make real change instead of just, take the photo op. route. And the reason that is because there are people whose lives are lying in the balance of all of this. And they really need us to do this, take this stuff seriously and be effective at it. Not just be serious about it, but you got to deliver.
That's the truth. And we definitely know you will do that. But my question for you now is, you're coming at another pivotal point in your life where you're doing some amazing things. Have you ever desired family, partnership, a relationship beyond what we see public?
Now, Allison, you trying to spill all the tea on this show.
I don't know.
No, in seriousness, I have been someone who really strives for authenticity in my life. And so I have never, and I think I'm not alone. I'm now in my 40s, early 40s. And I don't think I'm alone in feeling as though, as long as I'm in a space where I'm pursuing happiness and walking in my purpose, and those are things that really are fulfilling to me, I'd rather continue on that pathway. And if that means that can create a family, then great, I'll welcome that. But if it doesn't, I really have never felt the urge to force something that would be inauthentic, right? In terms of the wrong match or the wrong person, but the right picture or the right timing for somebody else. Try to live my life in a more authentic way, which is I'm the one that's going to be dealing with the day-to-day with this picture that we are creating, right? So, letting kind of outside forces, I know it creates anxiety for other people. It doesn't create anxiety for me, but for others, they'll say, well, aren't you worried? And I said, no, I'm not worried, because you don't know how, you don't know if that's a bullet that you've dodged. You don't know, right? And so to force things that are not what's supposed to be, I think, is something that often, especially as women who are, very, people who have just a strong drive and have had a focus on career, there's a lot of pressure to make sure that there's this balanced picture, particularly if you're in politics.
Yes.
So me being in politics and then not having this picture that people can look at and strong
behind you.
Yeah, it does something to people. It doesn't do anything to me. I'm good because again, like I said, if it's an enhancement, great. It is all welcome. If it is not, I'm good.
So if I want to hook you up with someone, is that
are you a matchmaker?
Girl, you better ask Cece. I'm a matchmaker. This
is the first time you
Yes,
to play matchmaker. Now they got all these serious matchmaker businesses and shows.
I do it for fun in my part-time life, but no, all joking aside, because and
then also, think about it. What I do is not that normal, right?
No, you are.
It's a weird space to ask people to walk into as well when you don't already know them. Well, it's a really challenging.
Do they fit where you're going? There's a lot of questions that come with being with you.
It's a weird experience for people in terms of just the public facing aspect of it. I tend to do a pretty good job of keeping my personal life private. And then if it rises to a level where there is a family or something to present, I'm obviously going to do that.
So I'm not going to do a Beyonce. Come out with a baby and a husband, and we're going to be like Amanda.
There's no scandal of a secret family somewhere that I'm hiding. But to that level, then of course I would share it. But generally speaking, I tend to not push out things that I would be, if they're not permanent, or I don't anticipate that they're
how do you
permanent.
Speak to that?
Yeah, exactly. No, I tend not to put it out there.
Again, but I think the biggest thing with you, you're such a mystery to those. No, seriously, to people who don't know you. Yeah, you're a mystery. We see you full force, steaming ahead in your political field, but we don't know the person. Yeah. So it makes us see, a lot of people are like, well, what does she do? What makes her upset? Yeah. What keeps her up at night? And you're very good with, I truly believe, you know who you remind me of? Polly Turner. She was a very successful, she married, but it was later on in life, but she never had kids. But you remind me of her because she was so impactful. And you feel her impact still in Houston to this day. You really do. That kind of helps. That's why I had to segue to make sure we talked about that, because a lot of people see a beautiful young lady who is in the political spaces, and you come up against a lot of hard forces. Yes. You do, as a woman. Yes. So Whose shoulder does she cry on? Right. Whose shoulder does she cry on? Who does she go to? Because it's almost like you can be on, a lot of people tend to attack you versus, which you have your supporters, but then you hear a lot of that attack and you see this single woman by herself. And I'm like, God, help her. Like, how can we help Amanda? Because I don't always think that it's fair. So that's why one might wonder, well, who does she go to, really get that out and just kind of talk through these things? Because you are such a force, but who supports the force, I guess, is really the question.
That's a great question. Yeah. Who supports the force? Yeah. And you didn't even try to rhyme. No, I have to say, I'm a person of faith. Yes. So I start there. I try to get anchored and centered. People ask all the time, how do you deal with all the stuff? And let me be honest with you, I don't even like politics. Okay. So for me to be in the throes of like this kind of hard-nosed, just cutthroat, nasty, ugly, harsh politics is, very interesting. It's very interesting because I don't love politics. Right. I love people. I love service. I love having impact. I love doing the right thing, even though it's difficult, and that's what we need more of, so that keeps me motivated. But when people are coming at me and, attacking me, doing the things that they do in a dirty game of politics, I have to be centered with my faith, and I'm somebody who is of faith. I really do find my strength from that. It's hard sometimes to carve out the time because you run in the late, you pop up, you're like, I try to do my little devotional. You try your best to try to I try to stay even keel. Right. Because if you ride the highs and then you ride those lows, they're kind of extreme. Yeah. And so I try to ride the middle and know that the rest of it is external. Right. And then if I'm in the middle, I'll get through this thing. And so that's how I kind of just stay focused. And then, of course, you have your friends, right? So friends, family, you can rely on them too in different ways. But you have to first, for me, I rely on my faith first. Okay. And you can, don't go to third parties and friends, which you should be going to him for, and so if you need that strength from him, sometimes you need certain reminders, but generally speaking, if for me, I'm very mission oriented and very calling, purpose driven. So I understand that that's what's supposed to happen. Right. If you are climbing a mountain and it's smooth, what kind of mountain are you climbing? Right. I don't know that mountain. Right. They're rocky. Right. They're rocks. It's challenging. That's part of the journey if you're trying to ascend to a space that's difficult to reach.
Let's talk about that. Let's stay there.
Sure.
Because one thing I like about you, and I've always admired, you're very tenacious. And your tenacity is very focused. Some might say, why is Amanda running again? Right? And they might ask, what is she doing now? Why now? Why is she continuing to get in the race? What do you say to that? How do you keep your tenacity and your focus to just keep going?
No, it's so interesting that question is asked because the very people who we're naming airports after, the very people who are celebrating their life for the service that they've had, the 30, 40-year careers, both have just served the seat in terms of Congressman Turner and Congresswoman Jackson Lee. They all ran multiple times before they got to the seat that they were seeking. Turner had 3 tries. He won on his 3rd. Congresswoman Jackson Lee several times, even more, before she was able to get to her seat. And what I think that tells us is if, you don't want the kind of person that's going to take no for an answer to pursue this type of role. You need somebody who's not going to take no for an answer. Someone who's tenacious, who's persistent, who's not going to buckle at the first sign of rejection. That's the kind of personality type that this work requires. So the very people we celebrate are the people who lost some of the most races. But people criticize them when it was happening. And of course, now that they have had those careers and have done that work and people have seen the legacy, they praise them. Right. But when you are in the middle of the story making, it's easy to have that be out of context and not see the big picture. I know what the big picture involves, and it involves some twists and it involves some turns. And if you look at those 2 examples for this seat in the 18th, Congressman Turner ran for mayor for 25 years. Wow. And then on the 3rd try is when he went and ran and won. But it was actually the right time for him to be the mayor at that time. It was the time when we had a pension crisis and he was able to go in and work with the legislators with whom he had built all these relationships for 25 years as a legislator. He was able to then be mayor at a time when we had several 500-year flood events and be uniquely prepared to rise to the occasion for that as it related to some of the response needs we had. So, it's not your timing always, it's right. God's timing. And so you have to trust that sometimes you know it and sometimes you don't. And so in the process of all of it, if you're purpose and mission driven, you don't get deterred by a temporary setback. So when I see something that doesn't go my way, just as grateful as I am when something goes my way, I got to be just as grateful when it doesn't. That's what faith is about, is not just being able to praise him when you've gotten some, victory under your belt. You got to be able to praise him. You got to be able to stay in faith when it's rocky and it's rough. And there are going to be seasons for that for everybody, whether you're in politics, whether you're in your professional career that's in the private sector, whether you're in your family life. There are seasons that you endure. And the question is, how are you going to respond to it? And that's up to you, Yeah. So if I think that this is part of my mission, part of the purpose, and we had some difficult challenges along the way, this is going to be a powerful story of perseverance one day for somebody to hear. And so who's going to be inspired by that perseverance? Who's going to be inspired by the fact that you were able to wade through the storm or wade through the difficult time? And that's something else to think about. You don't know why the storms that you have come into your life, but I always believe that everything happens for a reason. So I use the example of my father, right? My father's death and his journey, I talk about all the time, right? Because it motivated me and inspired me to want to do something better for other people. And so in my case, who knows what my story motivates people to do or what can motivate people to do. And so I think that there is purpose in all things. And as a result, and I'm also somebody who's very, again, I just am focused on outcomes for the people. So I'm not here for the commentators. I'm not here for critique. I'm not thin-skinned. I'm good. I've got a lot of confidence, clearly. Yeah. So it's not something that anybody's third party's attempts to be dogmatic or tear me down, they're not going to be successful at that, because that's not my purpose. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to engage that.
What has wired you this way? What do you think plays a role in your wiring?
That's a good question. Yeah. I mean, I've always kind of been like that, to be honest. My parents, I truly believed at an early age. I was a Montessori kid. So I just believed I could do whatever I wanted, ever I put my heart out, worked for and put my heart, into, that I could do that. My parents kind of instilled that in me, and they never put any parameters on me and said, oh, you can't do this. Right. I never thought, oh, don't apply to Harvard Law School. You're not going to be able to do that. I didn't think like that. I always thought that, okay, well, if you want to do this, you're going to have to do that. And so I was always figuring out how it is I was going to get to what I was trying to get to, or what I was trying to do. And so, okay, well, if it's sports, I was on varsity for 3 years for volleyball. Oh, well, I didn't just get there. I had to work, right. So I'm like, let's get to club volleyball ready. I'm wanting to get to where I'm trying to go. Right. And so, I was always kind of just driven and someone who liked to work hard. I was always somebody who liked to have impact in different ways. And I think, I didn't ever have anybody tell me that I couldn't. And I think that's important for parents to really let your kids know early on that you believe in them and that you support them in whatever those pursuits are. And so, like I mentioned, I also was a Montessori kid. So I went to Montessori for 2 years in the pre-K and kindergarten. And, with Montessori, you drawing on the walls. I mean, I wasn't drawing on the walls, but but they really have you thinking like you can do whatever you want for real. And, and Amanda's like, here I come. I'm out there, give me the crayon, I'm drawing on the walls. This is my world. Y'all just, and so, but God. Early on, it was just kind of this self-determination. Yes. And they send your kids to Montessori early on. I didn't stay long. I stayed for 2 years.
Just need 2 years. They just need 2 years.
And then your child was determined, focused, all of the
very
things.
Driven.
Yes.
So how do you balance it so that your drive doesn't drive you crazy? I think we can be so ambitious, and I can also speak for myself, that I had to find a balance so that I wouldn't drive myself too crazy in just my focus, with that hyper focus.
I think it comes with maturity and time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you can do things that have diminishing returns, and until you really experience that, you don't realize that. And then you say, okay, if I have this in this box, and then I can do a little bit of this, and you feel what you're you fill it out. You got to know what the balances are. I'm somebody who has a really strong work ethic, and so I never want to feel like if something didn't pan out for me, it was because I didn't work hard enough. And so I've always had that in me in terms of just a feeling like I'm going to work and I'm going to do what I can. And sometimes you do what you can and it's not for you. That's what it is. Right. I have peace in my heart. I have peace in my spirit. But that kind of drive and work ethic also can keep you just all so driven and working hard. I don't really, I think that's where alignment with purpose comes into place because I don't see it doesn't feel like work all the time to me. So when it doesn't feel like work all the time and I'm aligned with the things I'm built to do, then it feels better rather than if you're doing something that you're not built to do. Like if you're in an environment, this is a bad job, I hate this, and then you're having to, knock out, nonstop weekends and you're working 6 more days and you hate it. That's not what I say I hate politics. I don't love politics, but I absolutely love service. I absolutely love the community. There's so many aspects of this that are beyond the backbiting piece. There's that component, which is the gross part of it. Right. But there's this beautiful component that involves people and empowering them and helping them, restoring their confidence and what's possible, figuring out what you can do in a community, giving people the tools to get it done, you being the one to help them get it done. It's very fulfilling in so many different ways. And so there's this ugly part of it, but there's this big, beautiful part of it that also for me, if that's what I'm doing so much of, it creates the balance that I need because I draw and I feel fulfilled from that. So it's not like, that some people don't love the community piece like I do. I love it. Really
you will see Amanda at 10 events.
I will go jump rope with you. Whatever it is, I will be wherever.
And she's not lying.
It. I will get on the slide with you. I love it.
Go meet at another event and you look like a Barbie.
There you go.
You would never know.
I will be everywhere all the time with all the people. And the thing is, I really believe you got to meet people where they are. And I just love building community, whatever that looks like. I love it. And so for me, it's not a chore. Right. I remember hearing people say, oh, I got to go to another one of these things. You'll never hear me say anything like that because I think it's a privilege.
No, you won't.
It's a privilege to be able to get out there with community members, help them become part of the solution that they need for their lives. Because you can't do everything for everybody, right? But if you start really empowering people and they start feeling inspired to do things and you're giving them information and the tools and they start really seeing opportunities for themselves to get involved and be reawakened and re-engaged, that's a really beautiful experience. And so I love that.
So what time do you go to bed?
I don't know. But, I get up early. Okay. And so I prefer, I'm very particular about this sleep thing.
Oh, this is good to hear.
Yeah, and I'll give you real advice.
Real advice.
I'm getting ready to change lives.
Come on, change them.
So I tend to try to manage so sleep can, be here and there, right? So if you're stressed, it can impact your sleep.
Yeah, very much so.
And so I try to, if I'm going to go to sleep, I try to go to sleep. So instead of me going to sleep and popping up or being half asleep because I'm still worrying about this, that, and the third. Yeah. So with that in mind, what I try to do at night when I get home, because I have long days, very long days. So when I get home, I'm not trying to get stressed out with the things that I am looking at, the emails that I check. So I kind of filter what are good night things to do in terms of emails, things that are more mundane, safe emails. I'll send those out. Things that I don't think are going to be going to keep me up or concern me. I'll do those kinds of things at night. And then the things that are kind of cost me emotional energy or stress, those kinds of things, I hold those. I don't check those at night. I go and put that in the morning box. And I get up really early anyway. So I will then have a good night's sleep. Or not a good night's sleep, but a decent sleep.
So how long do you sleep for?
I don't know. So, sometimes not enough. And then, but I do sleep. But I try to rest through.
Okay.
And not pop up.
Do you take breaks while you're driving to your different?
Take naps.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I don't do that. No naps.
Okay, no naps. She's on. She's on.
No naps, no coffee.
Oh, my God.
No, I don't need that.
What?
No.
Amanda, coffee. You're like a super...
No. Y'all don't want me. I mean, I don't know what I'm like with coffee, but I know I don't need it. So I am like wired.
This is natural.
Without caffeine. Need that. So you will see me drinking. I will have chamomile tea, or I like to drink matcha latte sometimes, so I'll have that too. But I try to keep it chamomile. I try to keep it herbal because the rest of the stuff has caffeine.
Yes.
So I try to.
You're probably like this.
I don't need caffeine. I need to stay calm. Some of us need caffeine. Some people need to stay calm. Yeah. So I need to remember, I'm here. Remember, I'll stay right here.
So we get that coffee.
Even keel.
Okay.
So I stay with my tea. But I will say this, the things that will kind of be more, hype me up a little bit.
Yeah.
I save that till the morning.
Okay.
And that way I will have had a clear head.
Okay.
Fresh sleep, and I'm awake. I'm up and it's early, but I'll send out, emails or whatever early in the morning like that. Nobody's awake, so I'm not, we're not having back and forth either. So it'll be, I can respond.
So what time do you start your day?
Depends on what time I need to. So it could be early, but I've always been like that. Early riser. Yeah. I'm up. It's dark, but I like that. I like to be able to have my thoughts.
Yes.
As opposed to, getting up kind of later and then you're just getting started the day. You haven't thought about anything yet. You haven't had a time to sit with your day.
Do you give yourself silent time where before you you wake up and you just don't do anything for a little bit, or you go straight to work?
No. When I get up, I try to do my devotionals. I try to do that because it also gives me a little
like
streak.
A check mark. You're drawing on the walls again.
So it'll give me the number is my streak of how many I've missed. Because my
life is going to hold you accountable.
I guess.
Yes, that's
so
good.
I try to do that. You know what I don't do, what I should do?
Okay.
I'm supposed to be journaling.
Oh.
But I don't. And
where would you find the time?
That's why I don't. So if I'm really busy, I'm like, who is journaling?
Like getting a recorder and recording your thoughts.
I don't remember.
Okay.
But I slow down. I can journal, but everybody's like, you need to be journaling this. And I'm like, you're right. But when I'm thinking about I got to go and be waiting on me, I'm not going to be like, I'm going to
play about those time limits.
Yes.
You get this much time.
Yes, and so we pack it in. Yes. So if I am like, why don't you wait? I got 15 minutes of journaling time I need to do.
Right.
I guess I could get up earlier, but,
Lord.
One thing that we're not doing right now. We're not things we have to put away. Right. So I used to be a gardener. That's gone.
No. Do you lift weights, exercise?
Are you asking for me to tell y'all? I don't want to tell y'all bad things, but the truth.
Okay.
Because it's the truth. We're going to do truth.
Yes.
So I do like to exercise. Okay. However, I have not worked out since the campaign started. Isn't that awful? And this is not what I'm telling anybody to do. Do not do what I'm doing. Yeah. But I really haven't. And I'm just being honest. So people are like, what?
So then how do you relieve your stress?
I go to sleep. I go to sleep.
Okay.
I pray. Okay. I guess those are the ways. Generally, when it's more normal times, then I can go to the gym. Okay. I like going to the gym.
Yeah.
I don't like not going to the gym. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm also not stressed about not going to the gym. I realize that I'm in a already stressful situation with this pop-up campaign that occurred, right? Yeah. So this was not something I was planning.
Why is it? Wait, hold up.
Because I was not expecting this seat to, Congressman Turner passed away 7 weeks into the term.
Right.
So I just did not see that being what was on the list of things that were going to be happening in the spring of 2025. So for me, when it happened, it was sudden. Of course, I knew that he was not well. Okay. But just because someone's not well doesn't mean that their end is imminent.
Right.
And it's going to happen in a matter, that close to them taking office. So I knew he wasn't well, but I did not have an expectation that he would pass quickly like that. And so for me, it was like, boom.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was like literally like go time. And so I had to like, move around really fast to kind of get things up and going again, because we had gone through the process. And for those that I know, people don't know what all of that happened, but this has been a very windy path. So for those that are not aware of the story, I was a front runner in the mayor's race back in 2022. And then Congresswoman Jackson Lee decided that she wanted to come home and serve as mayor in 2023 and decided to get into the race. So I pivoted out of the mayor's race where she had entered into the 18th Congressional District seat race. So I was the front runner in that race, and then she did not win the mayor's race. And so she then decided to refile for the 18th Congressional District seat that I was running for. And so she beat me in the primary election in 2024. And so I did not at the time understand or know that she had a terminal illness at that point. And so we packed it up, let go of my team, all the things that you do when you've, at the end of a campaign. And so 90 days after she won, she announced her pancreatic cancer diagnosis and died just a few weeks later. And so as a result of the timing of her passing, we were out to go back to voters. So this could not be something that was decided by voters as who the new nominee was going to be. The thousands of people who had just voted for me in the primary, none of those votes counted. It had to start anew with a precinct chair selection process. And that's where, Mayor Turner and I faced off in that contest. There were other candidates that were running, but it was, we were the two front runners in that contest. And so the first round, we were 1 vote apart. Yeah. And the second round, we were 4 votes apart. So super, super, super close. And so consequently, that process just ended August of 2024. So that had just happened. He became the nominee. He won the seat, and he had just taken office in January of 25 and then passed on March 5th. So it's been a really windy kind of just, bizarre twist of events. I always tell people I'm waiting on the Netflix camera crews to just pop up, because you can't make any of this stuff. It's just been so unusual. So, to lose 2 people within a year. Right. I mean, just all of these things are
just big people in the city. They mean a lot to Houston.
Absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, that's why I say for me, it was like, what? Yeah. And so it was just, it was kind of shocking. So not because he wasn't ill, but just the timing. The timing, yeah. Yeah. And so that being said, I had to just kind of get it together and switch gears. There's a gear you have to switch into. It's like when you're in politics life, there's a gear you're in that you don't typically exist in, because it's so unusual, the amount of events you go to, the intensity of it. Right. It can be draining on you. So your body has to kind of recalibrate to that again. So my body was used to me going to the gym and me getting rest and sleeping and,
So when you're not running, what do you do?
Like I work out. I like to work out in the mornings. Okay. I like to work out in the mornings, get it over with. I'm not an evening gym person at all. I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner. I know people are. I don't like to go to the gym and get stressed out.
That's not what the gym is for?
Yeah. I'm supposed to come out of the gym feeling great. So I lift weights, and then I also...
Okay, weightlifter.
And I also do the elliptical machine. Okay, so that's what I do. And so I've been doing that for a long time. And so I enjoy doing that. Okay. But have I beat myself up? And this is what I say to other people. Don't beat yourself up when you're in a season that you just...
is busy.
That's just really intense. Yeah. And I'm not going to beat myself up because I'm running for Congress right now and can't find the gym time that I would like to find.
In the streets, you're exercising from...
Exactly. Trust me, I get my steps. So I'm getting my steps.
I've seen it firsthand. I see Amanda one place, then we go down the street, she at that place too, and I'll be like, dang, I don't know how she does it.
Yeah, but sometimes you can, and I'm not trying to be an advocate for not healthy living. I want people to have healthy living, and that's what I normally engage in, but I was just answering honestly what was going on with me. And it's okay that sometimes you don't do all of the things all at the same time the way you should.
But I think that's important, and that shows your humanity, because we don't want people to think you're a robot. And that's important. And the fact that you were able to say, hey, you know what? I'm not doing this correctly right now. Don't do like I'm doing.
Don't do what I'm doing.
But at least we know that, hey, Amanda does have a human, like she is human, which we know you're human, but just being able to see that humanity, I think is really important.
Yeah. And I think in my case too, it's important that sometimes we try to do everything perfectly all at the same time. And then you end up causing a lot of stress.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, guys.
Yes.
And so, it'll come back. And so it'll be more balanced at some point. And so then, for me, I'm sure like, if I were noticing it more, then I probably would figure it out. But, I try to keep the right balance, in terms of just not get too crazy with, and food and nutrition is also challenging.
What are you eating?
Yeah, it's challenging. I'll be honest. So you keep crazy hours. You eat late at night. You do things that are not great for your health.
This is funny, but true, but funny. I remember when Sheila Jackson Lee was running for mayor, and I had a second to sit down and talk with her while she was eating. And OMG, she was like, okay, I'm gonna eat this. And then she was making these requests, and I'm sitting there talking to her while she's eating, and she stopped eating. And I was like, dang, I didn't mean to get her on a point where she could just stop eating. Yeah. And then we were in this whole deep conversation after that. I was like, so I understand what you're saying. Like, you guys, especially politicians. Yes. And so and then the worst, I will tell you something funny. Okay.
So the worst thing is when you go to like a gala or you go to a dinner and you're not really there.
No, you're not.
Right. Like there's food, but it's not really for you.
Right.
So they put it in front of you.
Just take the bread. Yeah. Have somebody put some bread in there.
So when you do get those times where you can eat your food or whatever, before you have to pop up and get up, and there are always these moments where I'll start eating my food or get in there, and then I'll have to stop. Yeah. The worst thing that can happen is when you start eating your food and you have that expectation is there, and then they take your plate. It's cruel.
Yes.
It is.
Sounds unfair. That sounds unfair. I told you I witnessed it. I witnessed it.
Yes. They'll take your plate.
So I
they
get
will take it because they think you're done.
I get it. So let's talk about this. I really want to know, you've had such great leaders that you've been under and have supported, but you've also had tough leaders throughout your career. So how do you balance your voice and learning from their leadership to really help get you prepared for your future?
You mean in just terms of hearing what people would say? I mean, you pick up information from and just things that you learn from people. You pick them up, the things that you like, and then they're going to be things you don't like, right? And I think, 20 years ago, I worked for Congresswoman Jackson Lee. So that allowed me the opportunity to really witness that this is not a joke. When people call your office, when people say they need help, constituent response is not a chore. This is real life. And people really need support. They would not be calling your office if this was some type of play game. Yeah. And so, I took, constituent response very seriously. And, in my office, we took it seriously. We had something called grandmother standard of care. What is that? That means when you pick up that phone, you treat that person the same way you would want your grandmother treated. And so that doesn't mean that you pick up and you say, well, I'm just going to pat you over in the public. You call the wrong office. You call Public Works and hang up the phone. No, you call Public Works and you make sure we get them lined up with the right person. And then we're going to case manage this so that we make sure that this gets resolved because they called our office first. This is how you would want somebody to treat your grandmother. Yeah. And so that's how I believe people deserve to be treated. And so that was something that I took very seriously in terms of constituent response. When I think about someone like Congressman Turner, he absolutely loved the community.
Oh, yes, he did.
And it was not a Harlem Shuffle or, electric slide or any of that, that wobble he would not do. So he was very good at being present in the community when he was there. Now you have a world of stress swirling around your head. And it might be in your head, it might be in your mouth, everywhere. But when you get out of that car and those people ask you to show up. Right. And really be present and really have that encounter in an authentic way that people can appreciate and think about and have as an experience for themselves. And so if you're there and you're standoffish and you don't want to be there and it's not good energy, that's not that's not how you treat the community.
Right.
Be there, embrace them, and it will be a warm, reciprocal relationship you have with them. So, just being present, having fun at the same time as having those balance. You compartmentalize.
Right.
Leave that in the car. Whatever, you might have been on a really heated conversation in the car, but you better get off of that phone. Don't come in the event on the phone talking about that. It's over. You're here with these folks. Be present with them and really allow them to appreciate you as their community leader. And he was very good at, just having a good time, infusing humor in difficult situations. And so those are some things that I saw. And then, Congresswoman working hard, showing up everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you have to do in terms. And is there a sacrifice involved in that? Absolutely. That's why I tell people, make sure if you're going to do this, it's not for a title. Like, you got to love what you're doing every day, because it's a lot of it that you do. So I literally had this conversation yesterday. Someone asked me if they should run for a particular seat. And I just said, if that's not what you feel mission-wise or calling-wise or purpose-wise, that's not for you to do, because you're going to be looking at all the sacrifices you make and all the other things you might be wanting to do, and it's going to feel like a chore, and it's going to feel like a punishment and something you resent. You got to be really lined up with your purpose to then make those kinds of sacrifices. And then, it's a joy. I mean, it's not always a joy. Sometimes people are not nice, but mostly of the time people are, in terms of the community. And if you're doing right by them, they'll do right by you.
I think so. So I know before we got on, you talked about you gearing up to go to Austin.
Yes.
And we talked about what you're going to wear. But it's more important, why are you going?
Yeah, we've got some really challenging situations going on right now. Not only have the 800,000 people who make up the 18th Congressional District not had a voice, not had a vote, not had someone to advocate for them for federal dollars and other things, but we now are facing a moment where the governor has decided to embark upon a special session in which they are going to try to redistrict the 8th Congressional District, among others, including the 9th, the 29th, and the 33rd. The 33rd is in Dallas. That's Mark Vesey's district. And the 29th is Sylvia Garcia, and Al Green is the 9th. He's seeking to do that on the basis that the Department of Justice sent down a letter indicating that these seats were unconstitutional because they were racially gerrymandered seats. And of course, as you may know, the origins of the 18th and the origins of majority district seats stem from a history of when Black and brown voices were intentionally being suppressed by the way the lines were being drawn.
The red line.
And so then they began this corrective course, which was to provide for or allow the minority seats to be drawn so that there'll be a more balanced representation of Black and brown voices in the House of Representatives and, in government. And so this was a corrective course that now they're using the, reverse discrimination type of argument against. It's very important that people, whether you live in the 18th or not, get engaged in this issue because it's going to affect you. It's going to affect all of us. The Intercontinental Airport is in this district. The U of H, TSU is in this district. Downtown is in this district. You get touched, or you touch the 18th Congressional District if you live and work and play in Houston. And so, the fact of the matter is, we now are playing politics again with the seat. This seat should have been filled in a special election in May. That was the time frame in which the special election could have been called. It's been called for November 4th, 2025. You know what happened in between? That big, beautiful bill that cut the ability of people to take in student loans or graduate school, that cut $900 billion from Medicaid funding, that cut $300 billion from SNAP benefits, that passed by a margin of one vote in the House of Representatives the first time through. So had I been in the seat, I would have been able to block that. And think about how far-reaching that is. So when people say voting doesn't matter, tell that to the people who are not able to take out more money in their student loans. Tell that to the people who are going to lose their health care access or SNAP benefits, or the long list continues. It absolutely matters. And what we have seen the governor do is play politics with people's lives. In that example, now he's doubling down, kicking the district when it's down. doesn't have a voting member. And now you are saying to the district, well, we're just going to redistrict you now. And there's no one there in that space to really stand up in the way that we ought to and should. This is wrong. And the history on this to suppress Black and brown voices is wrong. We deserve to have, just like anybody else, representation. We deserve to have votes. We deserve to have equity in this country. We have not fulfilled America's promise. And we are still in a space where there's a lot of work still to be done. So to backtrack in this way, to get rid of a seat that was once held by Barbara Jordan, Mickey Leland, Craig Washington, Sheila Jackson Lee, Sylvester Turner, you're going to get rid of that seat? We are in a toxic time of our politics where anything goes, and what we have to do is stand up and fight back. So the special session starts on July 1st. That's going to be the first day of special session. You can go to the hearings that will take place on Thursday of next week. There will be hearings that take place on the 23rd, I believe it is. No, the 24th is the hearing date. Go to Austin, but there'll also be hearings in Houston on the 26th, which is that Saturday. Participate, make your voice heard. Do not be a spectator. Looking and watching social media is not enough in this matter. You do not want to be a person who, in the midst of something unprecedented happening in our country, we never had a president, at least in my lifetime, who didn't believe in the rule of law, who didn't fought against healthcare, education, economic stability, everything in the way that immigration, all of it in the way that he has. But where were you? We can't be in a moment where we're still stunned and still shocked about the election. I get it. I was stunned and shocked on all of the things. I was all of those things. But I also recognize that we don't have time for us to remain in that space. We're going to have to take a time out, take a mental health break, reset, but come back and re-engage. Why? Because what is being fought for, what is being on the chopping block is far too important to do something else. It's far too important for us to go sit on stand on our heels and sit on our hands or try not to look or tell me about it later. That's not what we can afford to do, because this is your schools, these are your communities, this is your district, this is your vote. All of these things are being attacked in this very moment and instance. So go testify, go to these events. We are going to have some opportunities to get involved. And so we're going to be announcing some things at a press conference also in a few days. And so come to that too.
Okay.
And get engaged. They are only going to do what we allow them to do. And they're going to continue to push and do whatever they can by any means necessary. And we have got to be in a space and place where we stand up and we fight. There's nobody else that's going to fight for you better than you.
Amen. Amen. So when I think of you and all that you represent, as long as I've known you, I've never seen you laugh so much. So that was great to see you laugh today. That was very relatable. But what do you want my audience to remember about you from this interview?
I would say, I think people need to appreciate that while we love the individuals that lead us, we absolutely love them, all of the things, that what all of this should be about is a reflection of what you and your community and your family needs. And if I haven't done anything else, what I would like to do is empower people to reclaim their power back. We've lost our power. We think that the seats that we vote for, we think they belong to politicians. They don't belong to a politician, they belong to you. But you've got to wake up and know that that's your seat and know that that is your life and your family that's being impacted, and you're not going to stand for certain behaviors. Don't be a spectator. Really get in there and figure out, how do I roll up my sleeves and get to work in a way that's most effective for me and that matches my skill set. Everybody's not intended to do the same thing. Some people are powerful orators and they get out and they rock a crowd of thousands of people, and that's their gift, that's their talent. Others, they got a lot of friends and they can sit there and organize like nobody else, and let's do a phone banking. And we can call our state senators and call our state reps and call the governor's office and tell them that destroying the 18th Congressional District is something that we will not stand for. Okay. These are things that everybody can play a role, but play one. And if I can do anything, I would want to inspire people to be empowered, to be part of the solution, be the change that they complain about needing to see. You do it. And we all can play a role in it and get in there, make sure that this is not a moment where we were this passive community that allowed all of this to take place right before our eyes, and we were just shell-shocked and stunned. That's how a lot of this feels right now. People are stunned, and it's not unintentional. The president came in there, executive order after executive order after executive order after executive order. People didn't know where to turn because it was so much chaos, but it was by design so that you would get overwhelmed and then you disengage. So I hear people say to me all the time, I don't even watch the news anymore. I can't watch it. I don't even do that anymore because it's too much. It's by design. And you want people to come back to the fold.
Come back to the fold.
Yes, come back to the fold, get engaged, understand that this belongs to you. This is something worth fighting for. It's your life. It's not about politicians. I hear people say all the time, I like him, I like her, I like this one, I like that. You like them, but what does that do for your life? We got to reframe how we think about this stuff. We're sending folks in to do a job. So the job is to support your life, what you want for your family, the schools you want to create. And do you feel that this person has got the same alignment on the issues as you? That's the first question. The second is, you think they can actually do the things they're talking about? Is the second. And how do I know? And so that's what this process, when people are paying attention to politics, that's what you should be thinking about, is what is it that I want to see and who's saying what I want to hear and how do I know they're going to get us there? And then if they don't, let's say you put somebody in there and they don't do what they say and they've got a big, bright, beautiful smile and they're funny and all the things and engaging, but they don't do a lick of the thing, not one thing they talked about. You got to hold them accountable. It's your seat. All of these things belong to you. That's a job. It's like somebody walked into your company. You are a business owner. You hired somebody to do a job. And they came in there and said, Allison, but they had a cute outfit on and said, hey, Allison, I know you needed me to do this for the client, but I wasn't able to get that done.
Right.
And they keep saying that to you. At some point, that's on Allison.
Yeah.
Because you hired that person to do something for you and they're not doing it.
Amanda, that was powerful. I thank you for taking this time. I had to chase you, and the chase was worth it. This was a great conversation. I had never seen you laugh so much. And I think that was my favorite part of this.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me on.
Thank you for saying yes. And tell your fantastic team, Cece, thank you. You guys did an amazing job. And this has been another great episode of They